Fiona Fernandez, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Piedmont, and I made these little boxes with my team at our meeting before Christmas, and I thought I'd just do a little video so that I can share it with you. And so basically it's just a little cute little table Favour box, I call it, because you can set it up, and I've put Skittles in there. You can put anything in there, and you could adjust the size if you wish to. You just measure the box and add a millimetre either side so that you've got the room to slide it in. I've left a few at the top there, so you could put anything in there. And basically that just sits in there and it stands up on your table like that. So to start with, just put that over to the side. We start by cutting our cardstock. Now my instruction sheet says evening evergreen, but whatever colour cardstock you want to use. I'm using some real red and some shaded spruce this time, and I've got a few more to make up, so I've already done a few there. So we cut the pieces. This one's 9.5 by 16 centimetres, and I've put the inches in the instructions as well. And just so you get an idea of an A4 sheet, I'll just get rid of the paper here. When you're cutting it, it sort of fits. If you were doing a few, you could fit a couple on the sheet. So these are the size pieces that you need. Turn it sideways. And then this piece here, I've cut 2 of those out of the sheet, but if you were just doing one, cut them like that, and you've got a belly band as well. So you can fit them all on there. It gives you a bit of an idea what you can fit on them, on the piece. That one fits there. I'm just trying to think why that one's longer. Let me have a look at that. I might have cut that one longer. Oh, I need to trim it. That's why. Okay. So they do fit. So you've got the belly band, this piece here, and you've got the back piece there, which you can trim off. So I've just cut this one out of another sheet that I was using. But that way you could fit 2 on an A4 sheet, and you'd have a little bit of left over as well. Right, we'll trim that down when we're up to it. It's always nice to be able to use your cardstock as efficiently as possible, so you don't waste your card. So that piece there is 9.5 centimetres by 16. Then the offcut piece that I was showing you at the bottom of the thing, the back panel, is 5 centimetres by 3.85. So this one here, like I said, I've gone a bit bigger on that one. Let me see if I've done the other shorter. Yeah, I have. This one's shorter. So 13.85, or approximately anyway. And then you could trim the top. I'll show you how to trim the top off in a minute. So that's how long those bits are. And 5 centimetres wide. And again, we've measured the Skittles box. So see how it's a few millimetres either side of the Skittle box. So my finished size on the front is 9.5, so I've gone a little bit bigger. Right, and then we score, once we've cut all our pieces out, we score them. So this one here, I'll just get my scoring tool. So you can use your trimmer. If you don't have a trimmer, just use any scoring tool that you have. Could be even a ruler with a scoring. So the actual, this tool, Take Your Pick tool, comes with my piece, this piece here that fits in this end. So you could even use one of these. You got a fine point and a more solid point. I'm inclined to use the more solid one for that. So even if you just have a ruler and a mat, you could score along the ruler using this. You can score on here using this, or you can score using this scorer tool here. Just put all that back over there. So I'll use the one that I haven't scored yet, which is this one. I'm going to take them away with me for Christmas. So the first scoring mark on, and I've put all these measurements on my written instructions, the largest piece, this one on the long side, this is the long side, so you score it 2 centimeters. Now sometimes I start with it over this side because you get a nice solid up against that to give you the support you need. You can do it this way, but you don't have as much there to get that support. We'll go to 2 and just make sure you don't use your cutting blade. Done that before. Just score that like that. Just push gently and give it a bit of an indentation. Don't want to go too hard, and especially if you're using paper, don't go too hard on the paper. It's 2, then 7 centimeters, so you take your edge up there to 7. And then we want 9 centimeters. And then we want, where's my, I've got to keep up with the right measurements, 14, yeah, 14. So that gives us the main box piece, which will go around our box. Now I'll do the other one while I've got the trimmer here. So this one here is the Designer Series paper. And we cut off one long strip of the paper, so the paper's 12 by 12, 30 centimeters. Oh, I think it's 30.5 centimeters, the papers. And so you want to cut off 5. So just pay attention. If you want your pattern to be directional, I'm not really bothered by it. You could go that way or you could go that way. This side doesn't matter. If you're choosing a paper that does matter, you need to pay attention to which way you're cutting it. So once you've cut your strip, it's 5 centimeters by the whole width of the paper. And then we want to score it along the long edge, which is this edge again, and I want to score it at 9.5. Let's bring that down a bit. So we go to 9.5 there, and this will be the front of our box. So again, if you're using a directional piece of paper, this piece here is going to be sitting there. So if you had something with little pictures that have to be the right way up, make sure this piece is the piece you're scoring first. I've already cut the other end for the flappy bit, but you need to pay attention to that before you cut the flappy bit. Right, so this one's 9.5. Score that one, and then we want 11.5 centimeters. And then we want 21 and 23. Now you can open up this whole piece of your, flip a few things off the sideboard there. There are Christmas cards ready to be made. Look. You can put that out like that. Let's make sure I'm in camera. And use your 21 and 23 that way. If you don't have a trimmer that does that, you can turn it around and do it the other way, and measure in between, but we'll just do it this way because this is the way the instructions are telling us. So 11.5, 21, and you go there, and then we want to go 23. I'll show you the other way in a second after I've done this. 23. So if you were going to flip it around, make sure I'll just put that back in. It's very handy that you can pull it out. So if you were going to go this way and turn it around to do it, so we started there 9.5, then we went to 11.5. It's a bit hard to see on this paper, isn't it? 11.5's there. If you were going to flip it around the other way, you'd then just put that there to measure where it is. So your next one would be 9.5 again, and you would just put it in there to measure it. Let me see what the middle section is. Where's my ruler? So you know, it should be 9.5 because that's the size of our box. Yep, 9.5. So you want to make sure that that middle bit between this second one here and then the next one is 9.5 here, like that. I'll Okay, now the other thing, if you can't see what you're doing up here, because it is a bit tricky doing that, you can come down to the middle. Just come down here, and you can line it up on this middle line here. There's a middle line there. So you could line that second score onto the 9.5 and just make sure it's a bit hard. I'm in midair right here, but just make sure it stays on that line nice and straight there. And then when you score it, you'll get in the right spot. So that's just an extra little tip. Sometimes I don't have room to open up the other arm of my scorer. I think that's all we need that for. I'll just go and do the little white bit as well. So we've got all our cardstock and our designer series paper. When we're doing this little piece here, I got that in there, let me have a look. Cut that one too. Just trying to find where it says it. Cut Evening Evergreen. Da, 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 da. Fold the card using that. I've got to find my stamp bit. Stamp your sentiment onto the white punched panel. Okay, using the label, this is the label, Label Me Lovely. We're going to trim the 7 centimeter end of the DSP, which we've already done here. So when I do this, I put it in like that, and I just do it just a little bit. So you just want to take a few millimeters off. You don't want to take too much off, so we can go in about that far inside it. We can actually go in about that far. If you look on the edge there, we don't want to go in right in there. Just want to take a very little piece off the end so that we still end up with enough of a flap to go over our box. And we do that on these other pieces as well. So for the basic white card, I'll do this one because I'm going to stamp on that in a minute. So we've done the DSP base panel, yep, and back panel of the Evening Green. So that back panel is this piece. Where's the one I haven't cut yet? Here it is, this one. So this is the size we want it to end up. This is a flat piece, and I've actually done it like this so you can see how much goes into the punch. So this one I have actually done a bit longer, so that's hitting the end like that. So if you've done a piece that's shorter, like when I was cutting it in the first place, let's just chop it off and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you had a piece that is, hang on, we'll go the same length as these. What's that? Right there. So let's say you've got a piece like that, which is the size I'd measured originally. You just pop it in your punch. Don't pop it in like this because you don't want to chop it all off. Just pop in the top bit like this. Now it's a tiny bit fiddly, but just wiggle it a little bit. And you want to wiggle it and you want to center it across here so that you've got equal sides. So once you've got that, and you can see your straight bits along here and here, just want to have that in just in there. Stand up. I just want to have that in just enough to cut it off. I don't want to do any more than that. Just got to center it a bit. Sorry, just got to look at that. Okay, and I'm just going to come back out, and I can see the edge of it there. I'm just going in a little bit just so that I cover it. Everything looks straight. Almost. Just got to fiddle with it a little bit. It's a handy way to cut things though. And then just cut it off and then chip your piece out. So you can see I've only cut off a very little piece. It should be, and they don't have to be exact, but as long as they fit on the back of your box, that's pretty good. So that's how we do that bit. And then we're going to do the same to the white bit to do our stamping on. So this one needs to be a little tiny bit narrower, and I've put the measurement in there as 4.6. So the other one was 5, and then we line it up so that it sits nicely like that. So this one will be 4 point, and it doesn't have to be really long. It just has to be enough to cover the back of the box there. See how it's a little bit higher? It's going to sit in behind there. You can go, look, this one's a bit longer, but I decided not to use so much card on the next ones. and as long as it covers it up when you glue it on. So we'll go 4.6. I'm just using a scrap I had on the table for this bit. I had 6.4 in the measurement thing, so I'll just do it to that. Make it the same as my instructions. And then this one, do the same way. That might be a little bit fiddlier because it's a smaller piece of cardstock. Just got to get that into the right hole there. Doesn't want to do what I want it to do. So push it in further and then pull it back out carefully. So this one's going to line up nicely on these bits here. I've measured it to fit on those. That one and that one. And because we've got a little bit of room to move, we don't have to be too precise about the top bit. Let's come out again. Just push it all the way in and then gradually pull it back out. And squeeze it. Give it a good boom. So I've again done it very similar to the other one. And you've got that little piece left. So just discard that. So this one's a little bit longer than these, but this is the way I made the original one. Very close to it anyway, so you've got a bit to go down the back. Okay, and then you can put your punch away. We've punched everything. So we've got this piece. We'll get one of each. Get rid of all the other bits. We'll do a red one today, just to be different. Rid of the little scrappy bits, and we've got that. So we've got the back piece, we've got the box piece. I'll bring that into the picture, and we've scored them all. We've scored all this. We haven't scored the belly band. That's what we haven't done. You know? Okay, so when you're doing the belly band, just bring the scorer back over. The belly band scoring is a little tiny bit bigger than the other scoring because it's got to fit around the whole thing. So again, I've got little scoring measurements on my sheet, and it's under the first part where we've cut the cardboard, scoring the belly band. So we go to 2. Make sure you get that cutter out of the way. Just hold that firmly. So that's 2. I'm talking centimeters here. 4.2. 4.2. 9.3. And this cutting tool does actually have your inches on there if you're working in inches. So if you're not used to working in centimetres, you can still line it up on the centimetre, but you'll be able to see what it is in inches. So I've got 4 and 18.32 because it's quite a distinct measurement there. I always work in centimetres when I'm doing this. So the last one is, where was it up to? 9.3, the belly band, 11.5. 5. So we've got our belly band. So we've got a belly band, we've got a back piece, we've got the back piece, we've got that piece, and we've got our piece of white cardstock that I just threw away. Where did it go? Story of my life. Anyway, we've got one. It's probably under it. Here it is. Here it is. It's usually here. Just hiding somewhere. Okay. Right, we've cut everything. We've scored everything. We've used the punch. We've cut the white piece. Okay, so we stamp our sentiment onto the white punched panel. So we've got to make sure that we're up high enough so it doesn't go below there. So one way to check that before we've folded everything is to just put it like that. Line this up with the bottom of your base, back piece, the back panel, and just make sure you can see where you've got a stamp. If I don't have this in the instructions, but if you wanted to, you could just put a little mark, just move that down a tiny tad, so you won't see that. So you can see now where you've got a stamp. And I think I'll stamp this one. I'll do this one in red. These are all red. I'm just wondering whether to do this one in green, just to be different. Do that. It's shaded spruce. The other one was red. We'll do this one green. And just make sure you get enough ink on your stamp. And then you can move that out of the way. Okay, so when you're stamping with the polymer, it's good to have your Stampin' Pierce mat. Just gives a bit more cushion. The red rubber stamps don't need that because they've already got foam on the back. So I'm just sort of going to centre that up there. With a good push. There we go. That's the only stamping we're doing on this. The rest of it's just decoration. We've done our stamping, that away. Right, so on my instructions it says to check how much white of the panel, line up the bottom edge of your stamp with the bottom of the block, which I did so that I would know where to stamp. Okay. It depends on what size you've cut your piece of card to. Let me check that. Yeah, see, I did the card shorter last time, so I might take that out. Just line it up so that you're centering it in there. All right, attach the white panel to the back. So we're going to attach this one to this. Just use a bit of Tombow or whatever glue you've got. Don't go too close to the edges. Don't want it to ooze out everywhere. And so this one, I've just lined it up a little bit like this, so it's down a little bit from the top. And that side bit there. Just try and get it even away all the way around. So you can see that that's going to sit like that. Right, then we've got to fold our DSP. Fold DSP first to get positioning, then attach the box piece to the DSP. What have I said there? Hang on, I might have stuck the DSP on already in my instructions. I always skip ahead. I just make it, you know, just having fun. Okay, fold the card. I'm going back a step or two. Fold the card and the DSP on the score lines. So this is the card. So we're just going to fold that like this. So I'm folding away from, so when you score it goes into the card, we end up with what they call a valley, and then I'm folding out of the valley like that. The actual mountain side is on this side. So you end up with your folds like this. Okay, and we're going to glue the short sides together. If you need to, use your little Skittles box to put inside it to give it a bit of support while you're pushing that down. If you're not using one of these, just sort of hold it firmly like that. that in. Okay, now where have I got the DSP bit? Can't see my DSP bit. Right, number 7, fold the DSP to get positioning. So we fold our DSP. Do we want this on the outside? I think so. Not sure whether we want the red on the outside or the... I've got another one. Or I've used the red on the inside. Maybe I'll do the red on the outside this time. Okay, so it doesn't, you know, I've scored it the other way, but it doesn't really matter. I'll do it that way. So just get an idea of where that's going. It's going to check all your scoring, make sure it's all correct. If it doesn't work, see this one looks a tiny bit short there. I might have been a tiny bit off when I scored it. Just make sure that it fits, because you can always rescore it a little bit if you need to. That's all right. So we're going to attach that. Let's put a bit of glue. Actually, I'll put it on this side. You don't want to go into that bottom piece because that's an open piece on the bottom of the box. Put a bit of glue on there. I'm going to put my fold. See my join there? I'm going to put that to the back. Everything lines up. Right, now one thing to say before I keep going, if you wanted to, which I will do, so on these ones I've used the other side of the DSP, so you're probably wondering, how did you do that? I cut it. So I'm going to do that here too, and it doesn't have to be, you know, an exact cut on your cutting machine. You can if you want to, and just cut it before you get to that flap there. So I'm going to cut it about there. I'll just put a little line inside it there. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut it off and flip it over so that we've got a different colour on the front. The main thing when you put it back together is that you put it on straight. I'm going to put that one on. So I go right down to the fold to do this. Hold it carefully there to make sure it's all centered on your box. And that looks nice. And again, put this back inside because it gives it a bit of firmness when you're fiddling around with it. See, my line's a little bit crooked there. It doesn't matter as long as you get this piece right. As long as you've got it there. So I'm going to hold that flap down like that. And then put my glue on here. Because this is going to get glued down onto this, so you won't see the back. And it doesn't matter that there's a little gap there, as long as it sits right. Just check your front. Okay, that's all good. Lovely. Now, before we go any further, we want to read our instructions. Okay, so if you want to swap, we've done that. Okay, the fancy edge becomes the tuck-in piece under the belly band, like this. Goes in there, underneath there. Okay, I've cut and flipped it. Okay, so we want to attach the ribbon to the belly band first. This is our belly band. So again, we'll just give that a bit of a fold. Oops, not in the wrong spot. So that we've got a bit of give, and we want to attach our ribbon to this bit and that bit there. So I'm going to use a little piece of tear and tape for that, or you could use mini glue dots. Actually, maybe we'll just use glue dots. What did I say? Yeah, I used mini glue dots on my instructions. So just get it sort of in the center of your belly band there. And another one. Let's put on one end first. Try and center it on your card. So the other one I did a bit narrower, this one. And this one I've gone a bit wider, just to vary it a bit. I don't want that to be too tight because we want to be able to fold it. So just check it before you secure it all. So you want to put your flap in when you're doing this. So make sure you can fit your flap back in afterwards. So just check it all like that. And you should have plenty of room to slide that in and out. Right, so the ribbon's sitting okay. So now we want to put that belly band on. So I'll put another mini glue dot under there. And another one under here. I'm going to do one at a time to make sure we can get that. And I'm going to sit it up. So it depends on where you've measured and how it's all laid out. You just sit this where you want it to sit. Let me have a look at the other one. So this one, it's just come down a little bit there. So I've got this one down a little bit there. And you could decorate this with whatever you have. You don't have to use exactly what I've used here. A little bit of room for movement with the dot. I've probably gone a bit off there. I think I've gone a bit off there. Hang on. Let me just get my cheeky pictorial. It's a mini glue dot, so it's not going to be too hard to deal with if we've got to move it a tad. If you use tear and tape, it would be a lot harder to move things. Just put that on, just make sure you can move your flap in and out like this. And if it's too tight, because we've had that happen before, you can always just trim a tiny bit off this edge like that. Just shear that little piece up if you need to. But as you can see, we've got a bit of room there, down in there, to put your little flap. There we go. Isn't that really nice? That looks lovely on the red. Oh, liking that. Now if you want to position that ribbon so it doesn't move, we are going to be sticking glue dots on here which will probably go right through the ribbon. So we'll do that in a minute. Okay, so the next step is attach the ribbon. We've done that. Glue the folded bands. I put measurements of how far up the box, but you don't, as long as it fits and looks okay, you're right. Make sure to test by putting the flap in and out. We've done that. Okay, then we attach the back panel to the box. This one onto here. So that's pretty basic. We just got to put some glue on here. You can use tear and tape if you want to. I'm just going to use glue. Get a bit of glue on there. Sort of smear it a bit around there so we get to the edges, but we don't want it to ooze out. And then put that on at the bottom bit first, so we've got that lined up. Give it a push. And again, because I've got the box inside, it really helps. Give me something to press on. That's looking good. Okay, and then get your little pieces. So we've got some little gold leaves here. These are no longer available, so if you want to get something else, you could always use little die cuts of leaves. Some of the die cuts have little holly leaves in them, or you could just use other leaves. You don't have to use holly leaves. You might not be doing a Christmas one, you might be doing it for, they make nice little wedding table favors too. So I just used glue dots on here. Put a glue dot on there, push it on, and that should go right through that ribbon a bit, I think, to hold that down. Put one on there. I'm going to put another one there, just to give it a bit more hold. Put my little ones on. And we might even put another one on, because we're going to have that other piece there in a minute. Alright. I've got that around the right way. Squash it into the glue dot. And this one's going to go here, so I'm actually going to put a glue dot on the back of it. And the one thing I like about glue dots is you can stretch them. Look at that. I love that. Just push it down with your finger. Hang on, it's not coming off my thing. Oh, doesn't want to come off today. Oh, got it. Now it's on my finger. Bit of fun anyway. Okay, so you can sort of mould it a bit. Don't touch it too much because you don't want to take all the sticky off, but you can fiddle with it a little bit. Look. And see, that's gone all the way up that long thin bit. So I don't want to stick it to that, I only want to stick it to this. So you can sort of hold it over it, see how far you've gone. See, that's gone up a bit to there. So I'm happy with that. There's a bit here already that will hold it as well. And again, you can sort of maneuver that a little bit. Just going to stick that on there like that. Give it a push on there, make sure it sticks. And tip this around the other way if you need to. Go under there to hold it while you push it. And then we can put the little, you could put your little embellishments on first, I suppose. Might have been a good idea. Just got to be careful with these because they do break off if you're not careful. I've got a few that are broken and I just glue them back down when I'm sticking them on things. And I'm not sure they're available anymore either. They're on their way out. The other thing you could use is, if you have one, hang on, I'll just get it off the shelf. Is this punch here. I haven't got the label on that one. Some boughs of something. But that would make a nice embellishment piece too. There's lots of other dies. Just check my catalogue for you. Punches, punches, punches. Where's my punches? Punches. Got to find all the punches. Punches. Here it is, the bow punch. It's $34 and it's still current in the current catalogue. We're in 2022 in that one. It's just an idea if you don't have these other things. Like I said, there's lots of other dies out there that are good for things like this. So I'm just actually going to put a glue dot underneath here. And stick that one down onto that belly band. Nearly finished. Right, there we go. All done. I'll make up my other ones later. So that's how we make our little boxes. Got a couple there now, so I'm going to take them to Christmas with me. It looks nice with the green. Like that. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to know any more about Stampin' Up or making these sort of boxes or cards or anything like that, I'm live on Wednesday nights in Sydney at 8:30 p.m. and you can contact me through all my details up here. Ciao!